According to the Trump administration, the Chinese Communist Party is working with Harvard in order to spread anti-Semitism across the United States. The anti-intellectualism in the United States is completely out of control. MAGA is the dumbest political movement ever. Donald Trump knows he can tell his supporters anything, and these morons will believe it.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
Why would China even do this? How do they benefit from spreading anti-Semitism across America? American politicians trying to convince us that China wants to brainwash the American people. It's just pure projection. China spends their time taking care of their people and building stuff, while the United States spends billions of dollars in order to propagandize the world. China has made it clear over and over again that they don't care about what economic system that you use, what form of democracy that you choose to take. China believes that every country has the right to choose their economic system for themselves. China has made it clear that they don't care about which economic model or philosophy a government follows. China believes that every country has the right to choose their own economic model. It is the United States that fights cold wars and meddle in other countries' politics to manipulate the way people think. But notice how they project that onto China. The reality is the Trump administration is just looking for a reason to turn against Harvard and elite academia, because younger people are now starting to question United States propaganda and turning against Israel. The Trump administration wants to bring academia to heel so they can brainwash younger generations and turn them into obedient worker robots who don't question their government. Donald Trump is now weighing additional sanctions on Russia as peace talks completely fall apart. This is after Donald Trump had a full-fledged emotional breakdown, calling Putin crazy after he rejected his deeply unserious peace proposal.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all. I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Tell me what you just said.
I like you when you give me cookies.
You like me when I give you cookies, but you don't like me all the time?
Yeah, no.
Donald Trump really thought he could sweet talk Russia into not fighting for their national interests. What Donald Trump and the corporate media is not telling you is that Zelensky and the Ukrainian regime literally just tried to assassinate Vladimir Putin. Russia had to shoot down drones that was targeting Vladimir Putin's helicopter in a clear assassination attempt by Ukraine. This is as Ukraine is firing long-range missiles into Moscow and has made it clear that political assassinations, including high-level generals, is 100% on the table. All this while Zelensky says he refused to pursue peace until Ukraine takes Crimea back, sending a clear message to Russia that Ukraine is not negotiating in good faith. So considering this, and the fact that Ukraine is openly trying to assassinate top Russian leaders, it makes sense that Russia will crank up their military pressure against Ukraine. And Donald Trump knows this. I told you guys months ago that Trump would take a potential peace deal with Russia by playing dumb about Russian demands. This is how Trump will sell the war to MAGA, by claiming that Putin is crazy and unreasonable. Despite Trump claiming that this is just Biden's war, Trump played a big part of it when he armed the fascist Ukrainian regime while they was bombing the Donbass. This is why Putin is not letting Trump off the hook here. Trump could have ended this war immediately if he wanted to, if he ended all U.S. support for the proxy war. This is exactly why Putin is not letting Trump off the hook. Trump could have ended this war in 24 hours, like he claimed he would, if he would have ended all U.S. support for the proxy war Ukraine is not for the United States to negotiate over. What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back. Nick at night. We've been doing a lot of Nick in the mornings, Nick at noons, but I'm like, man, let's bring back Nick at night. It's been a while. I got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of bangers upcoming. I was planning to wait to go live tomorrow because I have my good friend Sarah at DDG who's been killing it. She'll be writing great substats. You guys know we've been doing this collaboration effort with DDG and RBN, so we'll be back tomorrow with another show. We're going to dissect a lot of this, but there's been so much going on the world stage. I had to jump on tonight. I had to take this victory lap because if you've been following RBN for the last 3 years, last 2-3 years, I told people 2 years ago, I was warning people years ago about this rat fuck Donald Trump, that Zionist sellout, and how I didn't believe for 1 second that he was going to end this war. The ruling class, they have their set agenda for the empire, and the empire don't really change that much between presidents. And to me, the idea of this deeply unserious game show host, Donald Trump, was going to be the man who upended the United States empire was always ridiculous to me. Oh, yeah, man, we're also going to have a banger. So Jamar Thomas also joined us. Yeah, Jamal Thomas is joining me and Sarah at DDG. So MAGA had to sell this war to the MAGA base. And I said, especially when I saw the peace proposal, because I had a theory. I told you guys at the time it was a theory that I don't believe that they will give up this conflict unless Russia completely rolled over, which I didn't predict. I explained many times before how the Russian people support the military operation. Russia has invested a lot. They are way too deep for Putin to give up this without massive concessions. So knowing how much Russia has given up, knowing the social support that Putin has for this war, I knew that there's no way Putin will fold to Trump and his ridiculous charm offensive. Whenever I heard him speak, there was no substance. Whenever I heard the quote-unquote MAGA right who opposed the Ukraine war, there was never any substance on what they believed needed to be done to end this war. Yes, they would bash Zelensky, but I'm like, what did you guys think should happen? What will you guys do? Then I heard Vivek Ramaswamy in the RNC debate, and many of these people was like, what we need to do, we need to play hardball with Russia. We need to have a deal where we have EU troops. Vivek Ramaswamy, he said we need to separate China from Russia. We need to get financial incentives for Russia not to care about their national security. Like, in general, what I'm saying is that MAGA, I always viewed them as unserious because even when they did a good job exposing the neoliberal regime and the war plans, they didn't have a solution because they're not anti-imperialists. So fast forward to after the election, and you guys see the day on this tweet. This is a tweet I made in December before Trump took office. This is a tweet I put in December where I explained how the peace proposal put by Trump and his people is deeply unserious. If anyone was paying attention, you would have known that Trump wasn't serious about ending this conflict. Like, at one point, he floated the idea of having EU peacekeepers. He's floating things that was clearly Russian red lines. And they were like, yeah, and they were saying the right thing, don't get me wrong. But I knew that Russia wasn't going to buy this. Russia is in a great position after winning. Russian foreign ministry says Moscow not willing to make concessions on Ukraine. So Trump is purposely playing dumb because Trump is doing this thing where he's like, oh, I'm going to negotiate. No, both Biden and you fucked up by starting this conflict. The Russian people support him. The global majority is not against Russia. They have no reason to concede. At this point, they were making the West pay, and they're making clear and set demands because Putin made it clear that he doesn't trust the West anymore. And many people who expected Trump to make peace, like Douglas McGregor, he was one of the people who advocated for Trump because he thought there would be peace in Ukraine. And there were many people who thought that. There were a lot of people that said, I hate both parties. I know both parties are genocidal. Both parties are evil. But at least Trump would start World War III. And we was like, no, I don't believe it. Donald Trump had a huge opportunity when he came into office to suspend all further aid to Ukraine and make it clear we want nothing to do with this. And that is what I said during my hotspot video. If Donald Trump actually wanted to end this war on day one, he could have done so. And it could have been easy. Ukraine is not the United States to negotiate over. This is not our war. There is no reason for us to tank the global economy and risk World War III over Ukraine, which should be a neutral buffer state. That is, the position of Russia is extremely reasonable, especially at the beginning of the conflict. Now the position of Russia, they said we are absolutely not going to concede on Russian-controlled territory because since the Ukrainian regime is so hell-bent on being Western, since they are hell-bent on opposing us, what we want is Ukraine not to join NATO, once again, 100% reasonable, and we're going to take the eastern Ukraine, the Donbass, these areas that want to be part of Russia, and use that as the buffer zone that the West refuses to respect. Like, Russia wanted Norway and Sweden as a buffer zone, but the West is so crazy, they invited them to join NATO, which was previously a Russian red line, and Putin conceded. Remember, you know the guy they say who was a crazy madman? Putin was like, man, if you guys invite Sweden and Finland to NATO, there's going to be serious nuclear repercussions. I covered this when he said this. Then they invited him to NATO, and Putin was like, oh my God, these crazy motherfuckers. All right, I guess we concede that point. Like, Russia is shocked at how much the West is willing to provoke World War III and provoke a conflict that they can't win. Actually, let me rephrase that. Humanity can't win this conflict. This is a conflict that humanity can't win. Which is why many people have been pushing for peace and because why the fuck would we want World War III over the fucking Donbass, over Ukraine? No disrespect. But it would be better for it to be a buffer zone. In fact, it would be better for humanity if there was peace and cooperation between the United States, the biggest, wealthiest empire we've ever seen, and the rising global powers like China, right? No. Instead, capitalists rather promote global poverty and struggle in order to dominate anyone who has a central planning model that differs from them, or anyone who they perceive as their geopolitical foes, even if it means less prosperity for everyone that goes around. Because as China was building high-speed rail, for example, we were spending trillions of dollars fighting a failed war in Afghanistan where we replaced the Taliban with the Taliban. And now Donald Trump, people are surprised that Donald Trump is failing to provide peace and create peace in Ukraine. Do you guys really believe he wanted peace? If he wanted peace, why is he proposing a $1 trillion military budget? So you want peace, but you want to expand the military budget to $1 trillion. Someone please explain to me how that's consistent with MAGA message for world peace. It is absolutely not. Trump wants to expand a $1 trillion military budget because he planned on doing the bidding of the deep state that controls him, The same way the deep state controlled Joe Biden to promote a never-ending war against created enemies so we can have a never-expanding military-industrial complex. This is why the principal left position is to call for the disbanding of NATO. Unlike the Bernie Sanders and NATO left, because Bernie Sanders and NATO left support NATO when NATO exists to create conflict. Because if it wasn't for that conflict, they wouldn't be able to justify their budgets. You won't be able to justify your salary if there's no reason for an enemy to be fought. If there's no one for NATO to fight. That's why they want never-ending peace in war with Russia. I need my American brothers and sisters. I need my brothers and sisters in the West to understand that conflict with Russia and China does not benefit us. It is not a boon to the working class. You have capitalists who make money off defense contractors. You have a never-ending grift where weapon manufacturers supply the government with weapons. They get huge fucking bonuses, stock bonuses. People think they're fighting these wars to defend America, and this is something that benefits America. And neocons tell you guys these bullshit lies, and people fucking believe it. And people who oppose these damn wars, the people who want peace and cooperation with Russia and China, we are the most patriotic. We are in the right. It's the neocons who want a $1 trillion military budget. They are the fucking traitors. The people sending billions of dollars to Israel, even though they got free healthcare and education, but God forbid we propose the same thing in the United States, and the MAGA right calls us crazy socialists and communists. Their mind is colonized, giving billions of dollars to people who, a government, an apartheid state that provide health care to their people. Meanwhile, we say the same thing. You say you socialists because we want to spend that money waging war. Explain to me how a $1 trillion Pentagon budget benefits you. It absolutely does not. Welcome back to Nick at Night. I got a lot of cover, man. I shouldn't be getting sidetracked with fucking rants like these, but I have been in the lab cooking, studying these empire talking points, and the neocon agenda promoted by both sides is a complete failure and is only designed to enrich the top 1% of the ruling class. That's why Donald Trump will never end these wars. His military-industrial complex friends, Palantir, they benefit from these wars, these genocides. Not the American people. So that's why you will never see none of these right-wing frauds ever invite me on their shows, because I will call them out for their treasonous behavior. Well, let me reload this. They are the ones who engage in treason by refusing to increase the quality of life for the American working class, allowing our infrastructure to crumble while they pursue wars that they lose. They lose these wars. You guys about to lose to Russia after sending hundreds of billions over there. You guys lost to the Taliban. You guys lost to the Viet Cong. You guys lost to Korea. They spent all this money. They spent human capital on wars that they can't even win. And people are not even near my anger level. Someone explain to me why Americans are more upset. What the hell's going on? I didn't finish his tweet. Let me finish Douglas McGregor's tweet. Unfortunately, I'll start from the beginning because he started a rant. President Trump had a huge opportunity when he came into office to suspend all further aid to Ukraine and make it clear we want nothing to do with this. Unfortunately, he doubled down and signed on for more aid packages. This has taken any leverage we have with Russia off the table. And fam, I need you guys to remember something. I knew that Trump wasn't serious about peace. You want to know who else knew that Trump wasn't serious about peace? Putin in Russia. Do you think they are fools over there in Russia? Donald Trump, and this is the messaging coming out of MAGA, Donald Trump really believed that he was going to have a charm offensive and convince Russia and Putin to abandon their national interests. Ukraine has always been a red line. That's where the Nazis invaded. That's where Napoleon invaded. They lost countless tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people going through Ukraine. It's a national security. It's the most important thing for Russia to secure this over the Nazi-loving West, the warmongering West, who is obsessed with waging war against them. So you have all this support in your country for this conflict that you're winning. You're not going to be charmed. Putin knew what I knew, that Trump was full of shit. Remember, I covered this. We covered this on the show. You guys remember my take. A lot of people thought Putin was trolling here. Putin claims to prefer Harris over Trump. I told you guys that's a great troll by Putin. But when you read into the quote, he's not joking. He said, guys, we have completely predicted everything the Biden administration was going to do, and we checkmated them. The result of the Biden administration and Democrat foreign policy is China and Russia becoming closer than ever, and us ascending to a nuclear power with massive money and influence. We know everything the Democrats are going to do. It's Donald Trump who is unpredictable. And he explained how they made mistakes. The first administration, they kind of bought the hype that Donald Trump was pro-Russia. Then Donald Trump armed the Ukrainian rebels. The Ukrainian government that was bombing the Donbass. So Donald Trump is very desperate to say this is Biden's war. This is not my war. This is not my war, man. I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, Chris. I need to read some more comments. Nick, you remember Putin also preferred endorsed Biden too? Remember, and I saw everyone covered it. They're like, that's a good troll job. We know he don't. We know he actually preferred Trump. I was like, no, motherfucker, I 100% believe him. Like, Democrats are completely inept. I'm not saying Trump isn't, but neoliberal foreign policy was so predictable that at that point, Putin was multiple steps ahead. And Trump was pretending to be friends with Putin as he was arming the Ukrainian regime that was bombing the Donbass and what started this conflict in the first place. It was Donald Trump's CIA that was training the Banderite Nazi regime in Ukraine that was terrorizing Russians, communists, and any opposition to the Ukrainian government. Remember, the Democrats threatened to impeach Trump because he's threatened to withhold aid from Ukraine, the aid that started this conflict in the first place, because Russia didn't want the West, the United States, to be meddling in Ukraine's backyard. So we all know that the war didn't start in 2022. We all know that the West, the United States, the UK, Germany, they provoked this war over the course of the last 10 years, including Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, knowing the lethal weapons that the United States, you guys see today here, sent to Ukraine, they're like, we're not going to fall for this shit no more, bro. We about to humiliate Donald Trump on the world stage. And they absolutely did. So you guys see that meltdown now covered. That was Donald Trump realizing that he was completely emasculated by Russia. He realized that he had no cards to play. The same thing that he told Zelensky. He had no cards to play, which led to him having a fucking meltdown. And Russia called it as it is. You guys see how there's no pretending that we're friends? Russia is humiliating Trump on the global stage, and they are forcing him to kneel because Trump promised peace. His supporters want peace. He's being criticized by people in MAGA who even support him because he promised peace in Ukraine. And they're realizing, holy shit, Donald Trump, he don't know how to create peace in Ukraine. There are a lot of people on the populist MAGA right who's upset. So Putin is taking advantage. And this shows how brilliant Putin is as a leader, no matter how you feel about him. Putin knows that there's political pressure on Trump to deliver on this peace, While at the same time, he also knows that Donald Trump is responsible for stoking this conflict in the first place, despite what he's saying. So he's making Donald Trump pay for it. The same way he's making Europe and NATO pay for it. Yep, Putin is a master chess player. What did I tell you guys? I told you guys, sorry, this is going to be a Nick Victory Lap stream. Because I told you guys, the second that Donald Trump was elected, I had a viral tweet where I said Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin is going to outclass Donald Trump on the world stage, and it's going to be hilarious to see. And I knew that was going to be the case because also I saw what all the Trump future advisors were saying. I saw what all of them were saying about geopolitics. And as someone who studied this shit, I'm always in the lab. I'm like, bro, when Trump and his delusional ass get in office, Putin and Xi Jinping is going to run circles around him. Putin is embarrassing him in Ukraine. China is embarrassing him on a trade war. China was like, man, we're not calling your ass. We're not signing no deals with your ass until you drop the tariffs. And Donald Trump folded. We are seeing him being checkmated left and right. We have Russia that is completely sunning Donald Trump. And this is going to lead to the segment, which is in my title. It's coming with the Alex Jones COPIUM. Because remember, as I said before, Putin is taking advantage of the fact that Trump has political pressure at home among his base to end this war. And Putin in Russia is in no position to concede anything on the battlefield because they are under complete control. Which is why Europe is trying to escalate World War III, because they realize they've been checkmated. And now they got to go home and tell people at home why they spent billions of dollars on the war they wasn't going to win. That's why the Zelensky curse exists, my friends. The Zelensky curse is the fact that all these European incumbents, including the recent incumbent in the United States, well, the party, Canada, the UK had countless prime ministers. Finland lost their female superstar prime minister. Emmanuel Macron lost his majority. Ever since the start of the Ukraine war, it has been a political disaster for the West. Meanwhile, Putin has an 80% approval rating. Russia is more politically dominant, more influential than they've been in decades. When Russia was just a pathetic, broken shell of a state in the late 90s. Before, what Putin has done in his reign has been incredible. Russia was a pathetic gas station, broken state. With all my sympathies to them, but there was a pathetic state in the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now Putin has came in, he expanded, created BRICS, and now Russia is a superpower, a very influential state that is taking on the West. Defeating their sanctions. That's why Trump and them was like, we're going to float the idea of sanctions. What is that going to do? You already sanctioned them, and then you started a trade war. Then you pissed a lot of people off that's now willing to do more fucking business with Russia and China. You can't be serious. Like, you got to know the economies in BRICS. Let me see if I can find an article real quick. I did a hotspot on it. BRICS economy growing. Oh, here it is. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. Always got the receipts. Look, BRICS poised for explosive growth as U.S. tariffs push nations away. It was way too easy to predict the fact that Putin was going to completely outclass Donald Trump on the world stage. And it's been fucking glorious to see. And the desperation from Ukraine is palpable. The desperation for Germany is palpable. That's why they're allowing long-range weapons to Ukraine. We're going to talk about that a lot more in detail with DD Geopolitics, Sarah and Jamal tomorrow. I'll tell you, we got a great show tomorrow. I had so much stuff to cover. God damn today. I got to cover that tomorrow. But what the corporate media is not telling anyone is the fact that Ukraine has actively been trying to assassinate Vladimir Putin. They've been launching these long-range strikes into Russia, And that is why Russia launched these massive drone attacks, and they're escalating their war against Ukraine. So this is another reason why we know Trump is not serious about ending this war, because Ukraine launching long-range attacks and literally engaging in an assassination attempt against Putin. Meanwhile, Trump is pretending that, oh my God, Putin has gone crazy. Putin has gone crazy. Why are they escalating? I thought we said we were going to have peace. You think Trump doesn't know that Ukraine engaged in assassination attempts on Putin's helicopter? For those who don't know, Putin's helicopter was a target of a Ukraine drone attack, and it had to be shot down. Zelensky, in the middle of peace talks, tried to assassinate Vladimir Putin. I have watched multiple Western media coverage of this, and if you watch CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, countless coverage, you will hear no one bring this up. They will say, "Oh my God, Putin! This is evidence that he doesn't want peace. He launching these attacks, he escalating the war." That's because Ukraine has made it clear they don't want peace. Not only are they attempting to assassinate Vladimir Putin in the middle of peace talks, you have Zelensky that came out and said, we won't accept any peace deal that doesn't include Crimea. That is Russian territory, motherfucker, and that has nothing to do with the Ukrainian conflict right now. That's something you say when you don't want peace. The Russian government has made it clear that they would never, ever negotiate over Crimea. The Crimea people wants to be part of Russia. After that referendum, that shit was over, fam. So Zelensky saying that he won't accept any peace deal without Crimea, and Zelensky saying there's no peace deal that I will ever accept. I want to go engage in never-ending war and create World War III as my end goal to win this conflict. Death to all humanity. This is what I told you guys years ago. That was Zelensky's plan. And Donald Trump is facilitating that because the United States is allowing long-range attacks into Russia. Germany is allowing long-range attacks into Russia. And Donald Trump is silent as Ukraine is actively trying to assassinate Vladimir Putin. So if Donald Trump was serious about peace, like a lot of people think he is, why wouldn't he be calling this out? Why would he be endorsing this? Why would he give Ukraine long-range weapon capabilities? Why would he increase the military budget by $1 trillion? Once again, look beyond the surface level of politics. I want to show you guys some meltdowns. Yeah, here's Alex Jones. Here it is. In our ongoing theme of grifting, fraudulent MAGA influencer, sellout scum like Alex Jones, who claims to be a conspiracy theorist fighting the deep state as he elevates the Zionist deep state cabal, as he bootlegged one wing of the police state establishment which supported the Patriot Act. Is Donald Trump repealing the Patriot Act, by the way? When did that happen? Remember when you used to care about that, Alex Jones? And in order to justify why they told their massive supporters on why to vote for Donald Trump. So in order to justify that, they are now infantizing Trump. I showed you guys Ian Carroll doing the same thing. I showed you guys Candace Owens doing the same thing. Candace Owens was like, oh my God, who's giving Trump his information? Trump is being misled. And you guys see how Alex Jones starts this? Is President Trump being kept in the dark? It's the same fucking storyline every time. I thought you guys said that Trump was going to be better this time because he learned from his mistake regarding being misled by the deep state cabal. So essentially, Donald Trump is making the same mistake you guys said he wasn't going to make. You guys see how they sheepdog people into the establishment? Because all these MAGA people who are like, I got these criticisms of Trump, they're like, oh, well, that the reason why is because he had Mike Pompeo, he had Mike Pence, he conceded to the deep state. He won't do that again. They said with no evidence. And now they are pretending that they are they are pretending that Trump is being misled, manipulated, kept in the dark. Instead of the fact that he's complicit and he knows exactly what he's doing. So here, I'll just watch a little bit of this. Look at this MAGA combination of Vladimir Putin's COPIUM. And the reason why I hold these people feet to the fire, because he has millions of people who listen to him. I am very sympathetic to people who are victims of propaganda. I am vicious to the propagandists. So Alex Jones seems like an interesting conspiracy theorist if you're a fucking normie. People who love conspiracy theories, who actually been into conspiracy theories for years, we know that Alex Jones was always a fucking plant to delegitimize real conspiracy theories. Alex Jones will bring up real conspiracy theories about the Pentagon, then he will bring up some other bullshit that is blatantly false to muddy the waters. So Alex Jones will bring up how the military-industrial complex wants to promote never-ending war. Then the very next segment, he will do a show about how the Sandy Hook shooting is fake. They do that, so it seems like anyone who supports his right beliefs are also kooks who believe that Sandy Hook is fake. Everyone who's only the bullshit fucking conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones, the real one, knew he was a fucking plant from day one to muddy the waters and make real investigative people who are dig into the truth about the establishment, make them look dumb by comparison. Like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist just like Alex Jones. He's a useful idiot. And this is another example of him defending Donald Trump.
Is Trump being kept in the dark about the attempted assassination of Vladimir Putin while he was in eastern Ukraine by 48 kamikaze drones?
No, he's not being kept in the dark. So, guys, think about the implication of this. I thought Donald Trump was a strong leader. So the reason why Biden is a weak leader who was controlled by the cabal was because he was a feeble old man who was easily manipulated. So what you guys are telling us is that Donald Trump, just like Joe Biden, is a feeble old man who is easily manipulated by the deep state. If that is the conclusion that we should all reach based on what you are selling us, if Donald Trump is being manipulated, fed bad info, making bad decisions, covering up for the Epstein files because he's being misled by Pam Bondi, all these bullshit, isn't that evidence that he's a weak leader? If Donald Trump is so easy to manipulate by the ruling class that you guys want to defeat, that's evidence of him being a weak leader and why you shouldn't support him, sir. I'll only watch a little bit more of this, but this is pure copium.
Is Trump being kept in the dark about the attempted assassination of Vladimir Putin while he was in eastern Ukraine by 48 kamikaze drones? Now, it's in the local regional news in Ukraine and Russia that he was there and these drones almost hit his helicopter. The Russian general has reported it. The Russian news has reported it. And they've been sending a lot of drones into Russia, actually intensifying that as well, even hitting Moscow on a daily basis. But Trump comes out today and says, this is a new Putin. He's killing a lot of innocent people. He's bombing major cities. And I don't know what's going on. And basically, this is a new Putin. That's got people saying, oh, it's a clone. They killed Putin and replaced him, stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. But it is true that if Putin doesn't engage in hardcore actions, the Russian establishment will remove him. It is true that Putin is a stabilizing force overall. Even mainline Western analysts agree on that.
You guys see. I'm not going to show you guys this whole video, but you guys see what he has to do after misleading his supporters into thinking that we should support Trump to end the Ukraine war. This is the stuff that Alex Jones and these people were saying. The Russell Brands, the Alex Jones, the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, they would say we got to support Donald Trump because even though he may not be great on Israel, at least he will end the war in Ukraine. They'll pretend that he had like a 3D chess move to destroy and flip the table on the NATO regime. No, motherfucker, he's working for the deep state. And now Alex Jones got to explain to his supporters why he told them to vote for a fucking neocon who's governing the same as George W. Bush. I'll let him finish his point and we can move on.
It is true that Putin is a stabilizing force overall. Even mainline Western analysts agree on that for a very long time. But here's the larger issue. There's a big scandal 8 years ago. You can pull up the articles. The chief of staff in the White House's job is keeping Trump away from InfoWars and Alex Jones and others. And they were trying to keep me and others away from him that were telling him things that they were keeping him in the dark about. I don't think Trump knows about the attempted assassination on Putin. It's not been that I've seen. I just checked a minute ago in the U.S. or West.
You guys see how there's no facts in that analysis? I ended there because see, I think that Trump doesn't know. You guys see how in order to be a duopolist, in order to support either of these corrupt, ridiculous parties, it has to be a faith-based analysis. I am showing you guys receipts. My analysis is fact-based. Socialism and revolution is a science that is fact-based. They have to sell faith. We have to have faith in Trump. We have to have faith in the process, the faith in Democratic Party leadership. You guys see how partisan sells bullshit? And you guys cracking me up with these cocaine eyes comments. Yeah, man, dude. Alex Jones, this motherfucker definitely be on that good shit. This motherfucker on weight loss drugs. But anyway, I can only take so much of Alex Jones. So you have, and I'm looking forward to see how COPIUM, pure COPIUM. Yeah, it is like a religion. Big shout out to my friend Ryder, because you gotta have faith. Yep, that's all it is a fact. The whole, we're gonna infiltrate the Democratic Party and we're gonna force them to the left. Have faith in the plan, guys. No, we're not gonna force the vote. Guys, trust me, I have a long-term plan. Yeah, guys, no, of course I'm going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries. I have a long-term plan. Trust the plan, guys. Have faith in the plan. Whenever someone tells you to trust the plan, you know that motherfucker is shady, especially a politician. So I will continue to show you guys these COPIUM segments with Alex Jones. I'm glad you guys were able to catch it too. Let me know if you guys like these night shows. We got a good audience today. We got 500 on YouTube, around 800 on X. I might return to Nick at Night because Nick at Night is based. I think the YouTube algorithm been fucking with us, so maybe I gotta go at prime time. Nick at prime time. Let's go. So I'm gonna continue to show you guys the copium that's coming from MAGA to teach a lesson on how these grifters operate. But I'm going to show you guys what Fox News, how they're responding to this, because this is the best thing that ever happened to the neocons on Fox News. The Fox News, they had to pretend that they supported Trump peace plan, even though they all neocons. Now that Russia is openly humiliating Trump, now that Trump gave them the okay to sell the war to Ukraine, they are going full out. Now, that's the part we're about to cover now. I'm glad you hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a like. Please subscribe, share. We're struggling in the algorithm, you guys know it, so make sure you guys share, like. Hope you guys enjoy the show. But the people the neocons on Fox News, they have been waiting till Trump pivoted on this. They've been waiting to escalate tension. Trust me, don't be wrong. Fox News was running a lot of pro-war segments on Ukraine to try to shift the Overton window on that issue to the neocon side because they know Republicans was against the war. But now, bro, Fox News over the last 3 days on Ukraine has been something else. They have gone full-fledged fucking unapologetic Rachel Maddow neocon against Russia because now Trump has done the pivot. They have to sell the pivot to their base. Remember, I told you guys, Trump and the Republican Party have to sell the war to the MAGA base. And that is what they're doing right now. Ben Shapiro. I don't have the clip of him, but he also like, yeah, it's about time that we clap down on Putin. So the mistake that the Tucker Carlson, well, I wouldn't call it a mistake. I think they knew what they was doing. But the people who are the populist right, the Ian Carrolls, the Dave Smith, they made a mistake of thinking that they was the influential faction of MAGA. They have zero influence. The people who have the most influence are the neocons like Ben Shapiro, Fox News. All these people I'm about to show you, the Sean Hannitys, who straight up had meltdowns over this. Anyway, let me play this clip. And now I'm going to show you guys. I need to find out. Here, let me play this clip.
One of the things that Dmitry Peskov, he's a spokesperson for the Kremlin, he said, we are really grateful to the Americans and to President Trump personally for their assistance in organizing and launching this negotiation process. Of course, at the same time, this is a very crucial moment, which is associated, of course, with the emotional overload of everyone, absolutely, and with emotional reactions. So, I mean, I dealt with him way back when. He's a professional spokesperson. He knows exactly the words to use to try to get a rise out of somebody.
Yeah, and that's what he's intending to do. The words of someone not interested in peace.
One of the things that
you guys see how they're saying that they're so fucking furious, and they also been waiting for this moment forever, my friends. They couldn't wait to be able to promote this war. They never supported the Tucker Carlson. That's why he got fired for speaking out against this war. And now after their boy was humiliated, they have the fuel needed to push back against this conflict. Well, the Tucker Carlson solution to this conflict. Here's another person. And you have all these neocon Republicans. You have like people like I. Patch McCain. He going around and telling MAGA that I told you guys we was right about Russia. There's a full-fledged offensive by the neocon, the people who I think have influence among MAGA. They're trying to win everyone else over to sell this war. Exactly what I predicted. I said that his job will be selling this war to MAGA. I said that 2 years ago. Never believed. I said at the time when I made a prediction, I'm like, man, this may be risky prediction, but I have reasons to believe this. Now here's the point where I am vindicated. Look, Trump souring on Putin raises questions about MAGA base. There's apparently this split on the MAGA base. There's not a split. Donald Trump has picked his side. He has sided with the neocons. And now it's the job of Fox News and his administration to convince people to follow his direction. Here's Sean Hannity of Fox News. Let me show you guys this one. Just to show you guys how the right-wing propaganda has been covering Russia humiliating Trump.
Senator, welcome back to the program. As far as I'm concerned, there are a few things that need to happen. There are now 82 senators that have signed on to a massive sanctions bill. I think that has to happen. Two, I think we must insist that Europe stop.
Can you guys hear that? Oh, shit. Oh, let me fix this real quick. I think you guys can hear that, but I think I was having audio issues. Sorry, let me fix this and let me start over here.
Here with reaction, Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullins. Senator, welcome back to the program. As far as I'm concerned, there are a few things that need to happen. There are now 82 senators that have signed on to a massive sanctions bill. I think that has to happen. Two, I think we must insist that Europe stop funding this war machine of Putin and stop buying energy from Russia. Number three, I think they need to take off the handcuffs of Zelensky.
Deeply unserious. You see how Sean Hannity, how excited and how he couldn't wait to go full neocon on this. Well, he always been pushing and always been a neocon side of this issue. But now we see who has the influence among the Trump administration. And put these sanctions on Russia? What the fuck is that going to do? Like, Russia has already created a situation where they're sanction proof. And they have stronger, you have BRICS countries and Russia has stronger economic growth than Europe, despite the sanctions. So the idea, we're going to put more sanctions. What else are you going to sanction, sir? What else are you going to sanction? India will never support the West, saying that they can't buy oil from Russia. And don't get me wrong, guys. India is 100% the weak point in BRICS, and I've been critical of them. But they do play an important role in BRICS because they have been buying Russian oil to evade U.S. sanctions. So you have China and India. That's over 2 billion people. You got the majority of you got the global majority that will continue to buy Russian oil. BRICS has a larger economy than the G7, and they all going to continue to buy oil from Russia. These sanctions are not doing a damn thing to Russia. So what Handy proposes there and what the liberal media is proposing is just pure cope.
Stop funding this war machine of Putin and stop buying energy from Russia. Number three, I think they need to take off the handcuffs of Zelensky and let him unleash hell inside of Russia, funded not by the U.S., but by Europe. Your thoughts?
I'm sorry, but you guys know I have to respond to Sean. I'll let you guys hear this warmonger's response. But you guys understand that allowing these long-range attacks into Russia does nothing to help Ukraine on the battlefield. How does that help Ukraine accomplish their geopolitical objective? It does not. You want to know what it does accomplish? It accomplishes provoking World War III. Because if you have Germany sending long-range weapons into Russia, these are weapons and munitions, and this has been explained, how Germany will have to control these long-range weapons because Ukraine don't have the capacity to do this. So effectively, you will have a situation where you have the entirety of Europe launching missiles into Russia, which is the same as them declaring war against Russia, which is Zelensky's plan to invoke Article 5. This is Zelensky's plan, is to plunge the world into never-ending war. Just because he want to join NATO. But let's listen to this guy respond.
Sean, you're absolutely correct. The president has been very patient with Putin, and I get it. The reason why he did. I mean, we saw how much patience Reagan had with Gorbachev. At the same time, he's trying to clean up a mess that he didn't start, right? I mean, this war would have never taken place if Trump would have been in office, but now it is. He's been very clear, Sean, from day one, he wanted the killing to stop. He's tried to work with Putin. His patience is running thin. And you and I know President Trump personally. When he's done with you, he's done. And if Putin continues to push this envelope the way that he is, he's going to give Zelensky the tools he needs to fight back on the full scale and full support of the United States. But Europe needs to take a lead. This isn't our fight. This isn't in our backyard. This is Europe's backyard. However, President Trump has made it very clear, Sean, that he wants the killing to stop. And he was very clear in his statement a while ago. Now, talking about the sanctions, Russia right now is selling petroleum products, refined gasoline, and crude oil to China at a 70% rate, meaning 30% off of what the actual going rate.
It's China.
it is. They're using what we call these ghost fleets to avoid sanctions, to avoid detection, but we know they're going there. Lindsey Graham, myself, and a few other senators led this sanction bill. We have been holding off because President Trump wanted time to negotiate with Russia. Because the negotiations are breaking down, I can see as soon as we're ready to move this bill forward, we'll be able to pass this in the Senate. We'll be able to pass it on the House, and then President Trump will sign it. The sanctions will cripple Russia's economy. You'll see the.
They're still saying it, guys. They're still saying it. The delusion of these people, and guys, this is 24/7 on Fox News now. They are priming the Republican base to get ready to use that $1 trillion military budget that Donald Trump proposed.
Ruble crash. You'll see the way they've been able to
the ruble's gonna crash.
Fit from it. This won't go. Yes.
All right, the European countries are making Putin rich. They're funding his war machine. They're allowing this all to continue. And many of these countries have not and continue to not pay their fair share for NATO defense. And what is the reason for NATO in the first place? Isn't the number one priority and fear about Russian expansionism and their territorial ambition?
All right, I'm gonna end this clip here, but Sean Hannity is pretending like European countries are not implementing mass austerity in an attempt to reach Donald Trump's absurd 5% NATO military spending goal. A lot of European countries, it was like, nigga, we're down. We're down for 5%. Hey, I have an idea. How about we cut healthcare, social spending, and people's pensions so we can afford the 5% military cut? Are you guys down? And everyone in Europe like, we're down. You guys don't have to convince us. We're fucking neocons too. So my question to the MAGA people, if Donald Trump was serious and he was ever serious about peace with Russia, why is he advocating for a 5% NATO military spending goal? When the primary goal of NATO is provoking conflict with Russia, it's why they exist. These are reasons. I wasn't just being edgy. I wasn't just trying to be different when I was telling you guys I didn't believe Trump was going to end this war. There was so much data, so much. If you just use basic critical thinking and understanding what's going on, you would have known that Donald Trump was absolutely not going to end the Ukraine war. And how many people on this show, how many shows have I been on where I told people the exact same fucking thing? Well, like, nah, I don't really believe it, man. And then they'll question against me like, man, do you really don't believe that Trump's going to end the Ukraine war? I was like, nah, not really, man. And this is exactly why. The fact that he has successfully pressured Europe to spend more on the military. I wonder if I can show you guys a receipt on that. Europe military. I want to see if I can find this article real quick, showing you how. I think it was Mark Rutte of NATO. I don't think this is the exact article, but it's kind of getting my point. Well, Mark Rutte and many of these people like Ursula von der Leyen, they was openly calling out. They were openly saying that we got to implement austerity so we can wage war against Russia. So once again, if you're on the left, if you're someone who claims to be a socialist like Bernie Sanders and AOC, who support war and the ban the right Nazi regime who banned the right to collective bargaining and unions, you understand that in order to finance this war that Bernie Sanders and the NATO left is obsessed with, Europe is implementing austerity on the European population. Meanwhile, the majority of all the Green parties in Europe, including the fake social democrats in the United States, they support this war that is leading to austerity in Europe. Meanwhile, they will call us crazy right-wingers because we oppose it. You see what happens when you embrace anti-intellectualism? I just want one part to see it and say I gotta cut a little bit. I'm already an hour in. I I wasn't expecting a big crowd, but we got a nice little crowd on both platforms tonight. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I guess I'll read some super chats real quick. I want to show you guys how CNN is covering this as a conflict, but as a contrast, but I do need to move on. I'll just play a little bit of it. Damn, I still got a lot of cover. At least I'm going live with Sarah and tomorrow. So I'm gonna have a lot of time to cover a lot of these stories. But fuck, man. Here, let me play a little bit of this, and now I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna do the rest of the show.
Quote, not sufficiently informed. That's how an aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin is describing President Trump today, after the president wrote that Putin was playing with fire by keeping up Russia's barrage of attacks in Ukraine. The aide told Russian state TV, quote, Trump says a lot of things. Naturally, we read and monitor all of this, but in many ways, we have come to the conclusion that Trump is not sufficiently informed about what is really happening in the context of the Russian-Ukraine confrontation. CNN.
And that's the quote from Alex Jones, how he's not being informed. They know exactly what's going on. Trump and his team is engaging in a strategy where he's playing dumb about Russian demands. He is playing dumb about this conflict. He's pretending that Putin is going crazy when Ukraine just attempted an assassination on Putin. They are launching rockets into Moscow, and they're making it clear with their statements and their actions that they're not supporting peace. So Russia, seeing Trump making this pivot, and this is a calculated pivot, they're like, man, you're obviously a fucking dumbass that have no idea what's going on. So when you see them say stuff like Trump is not sufficiently informed, that's politics speaking, political talk for, hey man, this guy's a fucking dumbass that don't know what he's talking about. And that's essentially what Russia called Trump.
And is also now reporting that President Trump is losing patience and considering new sanctions on Russia. It is a stunning change in tone between the White House and the Kremlin and the two presidents who once appeared to regard each other warmly. My panel is back. Audie?
I think that Russia, as they've said themselves, they have been watching Trump cycle through praise and then the occasional criticism and then praise. And I think they've figured out if they wait long enough, the news cycle will change, but he really won't. And at a certain point, mostly what I'm wondering now is, at what point is this an embarrassment to Trump? At what point is this proving that he has more than met his match with Putin? He has met some.
I'm sorry to agree with CNN, but you guys understand this is 100% what happened, right? Like, Donald Trump was outmaneuvered and destroyed by Putin and Russia. And Trump said he was going to end this war. And because he had a bad strategy, not only did he fail to do that, you had Putin that humiliated him because Russia and Putin realized that Trump wasn't serious. So let me continue this a little bit. I'll play another segment. I still got some more stuff to show you guys. We have a good show tonight. So we're up here late at night. Maybe I should do more of these night shows. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you guys are enjoying this. I may do more of these night shows if you guys are enjoying this. This is prime time, man. So let's go. Let's watch some more of this.
I'm wondering now is, at what point is this an embarrassment to Trump? At what point is this proving that he has more than met his match with Putin? He has met somebody who is now mocking him and in fact saying the same things that Zelensky was saying. Do you really understand what's going on here? And Trump turned to him and basically said, you don't have all the cards, be quiet. What does he say to Putin? What does this look like? I'm going to leave it to the reporters to tell me. But it just seems to me a giant question mark, and there is no one else to blame. It's not a Biden did it. It's not anything else. Everything that happens with him and Putin now is on Trump.
Well, his interest, and he said this many times, is winning a Nobel Peace Prize, and then the peace deals that make that possible would be nice. And what did he run on?
Is that Dave Weigel?
One day, the letter said that was sarcastic. So if they're assessing this and saying he seems to have a political goal here that he can't achieve, and it's not that relevant because he's not running for re-election, then we can go very far in manipulating the situation. I think that's a good read of it. And this has really become background news politically. Your districts, I'm in districts. You don't hear people talking about this war every day. They were outraged, some of them, what happened in the Oval Office with Zelensky. But if the assumption domestically is that this is not a big voting issue for Americans and the Russians are seeing that, I think they're correct right now. You can have a lot of death going on in the background.
Right, except
I'm going to show you guys This is the messaging we are seeing from the Democratic Party. Yeah, that David Weigel, I'm like, the fuck? That's the guy who used to hold like pro-war rallies. He blocked me a long time ago. Pro-war journalist, stenographer of the state. So the Democratic Party, after campaigning with Liz Cheney, after happily accepting the endorsement of Dick Cheney and siding with the Lincoln Project and running an unapologetic pro-war campaign. Remember, Kamala Harris said that her goal was to have a lethal fighting force in the military. She was promoting never-ending war. She like, I would never pursue peace with Putin. And then Democrats would cheer, yay, never peace. I don't want peace, yay. Kamala, I would increase sanctions on Putin. Yes, talk dirty to us. Tell us how much you want to wage war. I will give Ukraine permission to launch long-range missiles. Yes! That's the Democratic Party base. The Democratic Party base love fucking war, man. Bernie Sanders love fucking war. Like, whenever he sees, like, CNN and MSNBC interview Democrats, they're like, Kate, tell me what you want to do to Russia. Don't you want to bomb Russia? Yeah, I support bombing Russia. Oh, all right, I need you. Oh, Jesus. Here's Hakeem Jeffries. This is the person that Bernie Sanders and AOC voted for, by the way. Every single progressive Democrat. Every single progressive Democrat that's pushing this party to the left. The Hassan Piker Democrats. Every single one of them fucking voted for this guy. Vladimir Putin is a sworn enemy of the United States. Putin isn't my enemy. The fuck? It's not Putin that put the American working class in debt via medical debt, student loans, massive mortgages. Like, the American working class is in debt. You guys understand that we have something called student lunch debt, where poor children get in debt to their school because they can't afford their lunch. So we have something called student lunch debt in the United States. We don't have health care. Putin provides health care to his people, by the way. We don't have paid maternity leave. Putin provides paid maternity leave to his people, by the way, if you don't know that. But Putin is supposed to be my enemy? You guys understand that the police, they were killing a record amount of Americans every fucking day. You have the police killing Americans. You have MAGA still making George Floyd jokes, because isn't it funny when the state kills people? So as MAGA cheers the state murdering our people, they want us to believe that Putin is our enemy? Come on, man. Come on. Appeasement was never going to war because, yeah, what you guys have been doing thus far has been working amazingly. Why is that so difficult to understand? See, so after losing an election with a campaign with Liz Cheney on a neocon agenda, they lost in historic fashion. And Democrats like, we're going to fucking do it again. We're going to fucking do it again. We're going to run on a pro-war message again. Bernie Sanders went on a fighting the oligarchy tour. And then he was like, I reject Trump butting up with fucking oligarchs like Putin. Like, so you guys are holding a pro-war rally now? Like, Bernie Sanders was effectively holding a pro-war rally, guys. That's where the left is now. He was saying, we should never concede to Putin. We got to stand with Ukraine. Fuck. Man, I'm going through everything I wanted to cover very slow tonight. You guys know how Nick at Night is. That's why everyone's glad Nick at Night is back, because Nick at Night just means kind of fucking talking shit about the news. Nick at Noon is me. I'll button up, have an interview with someone smart as hell. Nick at Night is we talking shit, man. That's how it is. Let me read a few super chats I saw before I continue. Super Chat is a great way to support our channel. But if you don't want to pay YouTube, I recommend Patreon is another great way if you want to support our channel. Trump and NATO are playing checkers while Putin and Russians are playing chess. And G in China is playing Go in comparison to what Trump is doing. Nick, do you smoke weed? Love old school RBN watchers know. I think that's one of the reasons why we would get in trouble on YouTube. One of the reasons why YouTube shadow banned us is because we used to light up on stream. And then Savvy was like, "Hey Nick, man, you know you're not supposed to smoke weed on stream, right? It would de-rank you in the algorithm." I'm like, "Oh, well, fuck." I'm like, so OG viewers know. People are like, "Nick, how can you do shows when you're sober? When you're after smoking weed?" I'm like, "How do you guys do these shows when you're sober?" Anyway, Germany becomes Ukraine's last major backer to allow use of long-range missiles. I'm gonna skip over this guy. I kind of covered that already. I'm trying to go through some of these receipts, man. This show is taking forever to do. So Russia responded to Trump's unserious comments, responding to Europe essentially decline. Like, you guys understand how fucking patient Russia has been? I said before, they said they was going to escalate nuclear war if Sweden and Norway joined NATO. They concede that point. They were constantly fucking conceding these points and allowing these red lines. You will hear neocons talk about this all the time. Neocons will be like, "Hey man, it's okay if we allow long-range strikes into Russia because Russia put red lines on Abrams tanks, and they didn't do anything at that point." When we send Abrams tanks, every time that we escalate, Russia doesn't do anything. They're just all bluster. They just all talk. And to be honest, Russia, just like Iran, is very, very restrained, very patient dealing with the genocidal West. But when you have a Europe, and you guys understand that Germany was the last fucking major country in Europe that decided to allow long-range strikes into Russia. Essentially, you have Europe declaring war on Russia, but Putin in Russia is in such a strong position. They're like, "We got this." Hey, China, Iran, our allies, don't worry, we got this. Let's stay calm. We're not going to start World War III. We're going to take them all on, and we're going to humiliate Trump and anyone on the global stage, just like they humiliated Biden. But now they got to get tough because Europe has become so crazy with this war. I don't believe this for one damn second, because they say this all the time because they have to say something to try to get the West to calm the fuck down. So Russia's like, "Hey man, if you guys keep fucking launching bombs to Russia, we start World War III. I don't fucking know." They probably gonna do it anyway, aren't they? So of course he's gonna say this. And the reason why this should infuriate everyone in the West is because I thought we was told that Russia and Putin are crazy madmen who have no respect for human life. Russia and Putin love war. They're madmen. If Putin was the person you guys told us he was, we would have been in nuclear war based on how many red lines you guys have crossed. So if Putin is crazy, like you guys say, why do you guys keep fucking with him? If Putin is crazy, like you guys claim, why wouldn't you guys stop pushing his red lines? So anyway, Germany engaging in massive social spending cuts. They are now militarized again. Damn it! Fuck! I just saw. You had German military marching, even though Germany supposed to be demilitarized. So we have fucking Nazis Germany back, supporting genocide. That's back. Waging war with Russia. That's back. Did Germany ever really change? Guys, you guys have no idea how absolutely cooked Germany is as a country. Like, their economy is fucked. They deindustrialized themselves. They have ruined their primary energy source. They are a broken shell of a country. And despite the fact that Germany is struggling, and this is the same plan of the United States, their plan to get out of this is to wage never-ending war against Russia and hoping war can revitalize their society. So despite the fact that the Nord Stream bombing hurt Germany, was bad against Russia, and then they accused Russia of bombing their own pipeline. The position of Germany was, we did an investigation. We kind of know who did it, but we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to release it. No point in us going through this game, man. Come on. Like, it's in the past, man. No need to really investigate like that, man. Like, can we just let Nord Stream go? Like why are we even stressing about it? To be honest, niggas, why are we even fucking? That was their position under Joe Biden. Who gives a fuck who bombed? No, in fact, I think it was Putin, Russia. Fuck it. I think they bombed themselves. Meanwhile, Russia was like, motherfucker, we want a full-fledged investigation. A full-fledged investigation into who bombed Nord Stream. Meanwhile, the West was like, come on, do we really need to do that? I think it was Italy. Fuck, I forgot what country. I did a hotspot video. Maybe I should look this up. Yeah, because I want to say Italy, or was it Poland? I think it was Poland. Almost want to look at something. I need to look at something real quick. Nord Stream. I did a hotspot video on this because I believe it was Poland who did an investigation into who bombed the Nord Stream pipeline. And then it was like, oh, it was Sweden. Here it is. This is the hotspot. I know I just had to search my tweet. Look at my beautiful mini fro. I miss you already. Sweden launches extensive investigation into Nord Stream pipeline, but decides not to release it. Germany. I play the video, but you guys see the headline I pulled up. Sweden shuts down Nord Stream blast inquiry. Yeah, I was going off memory, but I'll make sure I fact check myself. Yeah, it was Sweden. And now, if someone please explain to me, why would anyone do this unless they was traitors to their people? This is why I told you guys war does not benefit us. And the most patriotic thing that we can do is advocate for peace against people that our state consider their enemies. Because even though we started Nord Stream, despite the energy crisis in Germany, the energy costs in Europe, Germany is doing everything they can to prevent the restart of Nord Stream 2. Does this sound like a country who actually gives a fuck about their people, guys? Germany is cooked. It's a completely xylo-fascist state where free speech is not a thing. And now they are now attacking the working class in Germany in order to fuel never-ending conflict with Russia. I know things are pretty bad in the United States, guys, but people have no idea how bad things are in Europe. They're completely cooked. Anyway, one last quick segment. You guys see this title here. Despite everything that's going on, despite everything I showed you guys, despite Europe's obsession with war against Russia, despite them approving long-range attacks into Russia, and this was a statement they came out with today after they cooled down a little bit. They're like, we still down to have these peace talks next week with Ukraine. Look, Russia proposes peace talks with Ukraine next week after Trump threat. So even after Trump threatened him, even after everything Europe is doing, Russia is still down to talk about peace. But don't get it twisted though. They're not gonna allow the West and Germany to get let off the hook because of their previous obsession with waging war with Russia over the last few years. I'm going to continue to show you guys how Germany is cooked. I think this would be the last segment. I can save the rest for Sarah and Jamal, but I do have one more segment I want to show you guys today. Just showing you guys how Germany is completely cooked since we're on that topic. Another reason why I haven't been really streaming that much because it's very depressing constantly seeing children being blown up. There was footage of a Palestinian girl being burned alive. Another one. So after a while, it kind of gets tiring covering children burning to death, covering the genocidal psychosis of the West. But the good news is I want to show you guys how Israel, because I don't want to be just someone who highlights the pain of Palestinians. I want to show you guys the victories of the resistance as well. I think there's too much doomerism because you have big European countries that are now floating the idea of recognizing a Palestinian state. So I want to focus on that because honestly, that's the reason why you guys don't see me stream that much because honestly, seeing all the dismembered children, burning alive children, it's kind of fucking with me. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I don't want to see this shit anymore. But we got to be in the trenches. We got to continue to advocate. We got to continue to stand with our Palestinian brothers and sisters and elevate their victories. Because I explained many times before, Israel is in shambles. There's a reason why they're burning children alive. Things are not going well for them. They're now slowly to begin to lose Europe, of all people. What does this say about the Nazi German state? German Chancellor says Gaza genocide no longer justified. That's essentially the statement. That's essentially what they're saying. Like German Chancellor Merz, in historic rebuke of Israel, he says what we all been saying. Attacks on civilians, aka collective punishment, is not justified by your military goal of taking out Hamas. At no point was it ever justified. Do you guys understand that Germany arrested people for saying what the government is just now acknowledging? In Germany, in the Zio-fascist state known as Germany, you could get arrested for this. People was economically ruined in Germany. Germany floated the idea, and they still strongly support the idea of removing and revoking citizenship from people who criticize the Israeli war. So you guys came to a conclusion that people in your population have long since came to because the majority of the German people was against Israel. But you guys persecuted and went after people. The UK and the West waged a war against free speech, saying what you guys are saying right now. Donald Trump waged a war against people protesting against Israel for saying the same thing that he's saying right now. They said we had to have an arms embargo of Israel because they're engaging in starvation as a tool of war. Even if you're fighting quote-unquote terrorists, even if you accept the premise that Hamas is bad, which we know we don't at RBN, but even if you accept that premise, even if you're fighting a bad party, that does not justify war crimes, including collective punishment and the use of starvation. Now, if you provide weapons to a country that you know is committing genocide and committing war crimes, that makes you actively complicit, and that is violation of the Geneva Conventions. Why do you guys think Germany, in a position of the Biden administration, the UK, is to deny genocide in Gaza, even though it's obvious? Because if you don't deny genocide in Gaza, then you are complicit with genocide and you are liable to be charged if we have a functioning international system. But Israel has became so emboldened and enabled by Europe and the United States, they're engaging in full-fledged barbaric war crimes. Like, it's worse than it's ever been in Gaza now. Like, people are dying of starvation, people being burned to death. They're just bombing people indiscriminately, shooting. I saw the video, fucking God help my soul. I saw a video of some mother. She was shot in the head because she got aid for her children. Like, they're engaging in mass extermination the like humanity have ever seen before. And I am not being hyperbolic. That is proven by the numbers. Like, Gaza is more heavily bombed than Germany in World War II. We have seen more civilians murdered, more bombs dropped in Ukraine than every single battlefield combined over the last 15 years. You guys understand that Israel killed tens of times more civilians than Al-Qaeda and ISIS combined in 25 years. So I am not being hyperbolic, and no one is being hyperbolic when we say this is the worst fucking war we've seen. Cambodia, that was bad. Vietnam, this is bad. They put up millions dead there. That was horrific. But the pace, the crimes we are seeing now, I am willing to go there and say it's unprecedented. And I'm not saying that there's not other ones who match up to it, but it's unprecedented in recent human history, what we have seen in Gaza. So everyone who armed the state, now that it's undeniable, they're now coming out and saying, oh my God, Israel, you got to stop with these war crimes. You got to allow aid to come in. Despite this, despite the fact that Germany acknowledges that Israel is using starvation as a tool of war. Look at this. Germany says it will continue to arm Israel amid calls for an embargo. Because just to illustrate the fascist state that we live in, you guys know the majority of people in Germany oppose the Israeli state. Let me show you guys this. Germans' opinion of Israel has deteriorated. A study published Friday confirms a trend that predates even before October 7th, guys. Germany was turning against Israel. I explained to you guys many times before how America has always been behind. America has always been behind. But the reason why Germany supports Israel despite their people, even in 2021, the majority of the people didn't support Israel. But Germany still did because they are xio-fascist states where the will of the people is not reflected in policy, which has been shown in the United States in study after study. The will of the people in the United States will never be implemented in policy. So only 36% of respondents today in Germany, 1 out of 3, just over 1 out of 3, support Israel. And if you study polls, you guys know that's a devastating number because it's very hard to get shit below 30%. Like in most of these genocidal Western countries, they're just 1/3 of the people whose brains are just fucking broken. They've been raised and they benefited from colonial violence, genocide, and imperialism. You can't shake them. Like 70% of the American people support healthcare, 30% don't. You know what I mean? The majority of American people was opposing the Iraq war, then like 20%. Now, they always will be these people. But this is a huge shift. A huge shift that is not being reflected in Europe. Look at this. France. You guys understand that one of the reasons why Europe is starting to turn on them is because the Palestinian people and the Free Palestine movement has done a great job at winning the battle of public perception. Despite the fact that the ineffective left, the dumb, do-nothing left, they would tell police the Palestinian movement like, hey, man, stop saying to the river, to the sea. Stop saying this. Stop saying you don't support a two-state solution. You guys need better strategy. Meanwhile, the pro-Palestinian movement, we have affected and shifted the public. We have drastically shifted the public marching, saying from the river to the sea. So here are people in France. Let me read the caption. Over 15,000 people in Paris rallied to demand sanctions against Israel. So do you guys think these leaders in Europe are criticizing Israel out of the kindness of their heart, or because the overwhelming amount of other people have turned against Israel? You understand that people around the world, it was already bad, but Israelis are being confronted in the streets, like they're being shunned because they're support of genocide. We're seeing backlash against the Israelis all over the world, the like we've never seen, to the point where Europe has to act. Macron in France openly Zionist state. Macron navigates rocky path to recognizing Palestinian state. Spain, France, Germany, the UK, they all floated the idea of a Palestinian state. So there are a lot of people who have the analysis that October 7th should have never happened. And I understand why many people in the Palestinian community wouldn't want it to happen. But you must understand there's never been a struggle against colonialism and genocidal apartheid that wasn't met with massive retaliation. Of course, I don't think anyone knew that Israel would go as far as they did. But the reality of the situation, and no one else covers this like this, because everyone say, oh my God, the October 7th was a mistake. The Palestinian resistance has failed. The reality of the situation, this is a fact. Palestinian statehood pre-October 7th was completely off the table. Embargoes of Israel was completely off the table. BDS was slowing down. BDS has ramped up. The Israeli economy is in shambles. The Israeli settlers are fleeing in mass. So post-October 7th, we are seeing a mass recognition of the Palestinian state. We are seeing the Israeli economy in shambles, and we are seeing the settlers fleeing. You guys see it, and I hope I'm not wrong on this, but you guys see why I want to focus on the wins of the resistance as well, and not just showing dead Palestinian bodies. Because what the social democrat, pacifist, ineffective left, the I condemn Hamas, what they do, they show you nothing but dead Palestinians all day while condemning the resistance, while not showing you the wins of the resistance. You guys understand that the fact that Israel even had to pretend to accept the ceasefire is because they were being hammered by Hamas. They needed a timeout. The fact that Spain is doing it, they're now banning weapons. They now support a Palestinian state. This is on the table because it's a victory for the resistance, my friends. Without the resistance, this will never happen. So you have Europe that's calling for the Palestinian state. And you guys want to know how Israel is reacting? Of course, they're having a full-fledged meltdown. Israel warns Europe that Palestine recognition may be met with West Bank annexation. You mean what you guys are doing now? Literally what you're doing now in the West Bank. You also had Israel that accused Europe and European leaders of folding to the wave of anti-Semitism. They said the reason why Europe is calling for this is because it's anti-Semitism surging again. Look at this. France rejects Israeli comments accusing European officials of anti-Semitic incitement. They said Israel accused the entirety of Europe of being anti-Semitic because it was raising awareness about the fact that they are committing war crimes. And they're still having a meltdown. Can you imagine the audacity? This is the monster that Germany and the West created. Even though they still arming them, they like, hey man, can you guys stop starving them to death? Nah. And on top of all this, you have this. I think I might end it here. In a barbaric display of sadism, Israelis filmed themselves having a barbecue and eating delicious food not far from the Gaza border where nearly 2.4 million Palestinians are being starved to death. Do you guys understand the level we're dealing with here? So you have Israeli settlers with the help of the IDF that is blocking aid going to Gaza, knowing that there's a famine, knowing that there's starvation. This is the country that the West arms and support despite the fact they are doing this. If you don't support armed resistance against these evil motherfuckers, your mind has been completely colonized by the West. You have no soul. How can you see this? How can you see Israelis, and they have done this multiple times, having barbecue next to starving people and not cheer for Hamas after that? How do you not cheer for every single Palestinian resistance group? How can you claim that you wouldn't join Hamas when dealing with these savage, barbarian monsters who celebrate the starvation of children? You had Israelis that was marching in the street chanting death to Arabs. Meanwhile, they want to tell us from the river to the sea is genocidal chants. They want to tell us free Palestine is a genocidal chant, as Israelis are chanting free Palestine. Meanwhile, if you call this out, Germany could withdraw your citizenship due to anti-Semitism. So the Democrats are melting down over Trump fascism, but they are 100% okay with Europe when Germany has been doing this before Trump. Germany was the one to create the precedent behind. You guys understand that Trump is not even talking about withdrawing citizenship. Like Germany, they want to punish people who criticize the state of Israel and say the same thing that they just did. What did I say? Yeah, Israelis are chanting death to Arabs. Sorry, I don't know what I said. This is a long stream. What did I say? Well, either way, that's what I meant to say. I don't know what I said. But yeah, you had Israeli chanting death to Arabs in the street. Hopefully, I don't know what I said. Yeah, so I think I will cover the anti-Semitism hoax more in detail with Sarah and DDG tomorrow. You guys see, I'm making mistakes now. We're over 90 minutes in. I think you said Israeli. Yeah, that's how you know I should wrap up. I'm 90 minutes in. It's late at night. I think this was a pretty good stream. So I'm going to cover more of the anti-Semitism psyop tomorrow with Sarah and Jamal Thompson. He's killing the game. He has a great morning show. He's joining us on RBN tomorrow. So I think I'm going to save most of my covers to then. Thank you for Super Chat C. Sup, my fellow goys. A few things. You're right on, Nick. Keep your foot on the motherfucker's neck. Dog, never relent. I just made some Tong Zong. This is a base Super Chat. Persist for a big shout out to C. Hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know if you enjoy these night shows in the comments, guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. We're going to cover more in detail this escalation between Europe and Germany. I'm very interested in getting Sarah's take and Jamal, who has done great interviews on the channel about the state of Zionism right now. So I appreciate all you guys for watching. Have
Have a good night. Make sure you guys follow us on Patreon if you guys want to support the show. I'll be back tomorrow. Oh yeah, also, JB and Sabby is having Rachel Blevins on. So we're going to have an RBN super double header tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be me, Sarah, and Jamal. We're going to have a super panel, and then we're going to have JB and Sabby with Rachel Levins, like literally an hour after that. So we have a double header tomorrow, so a lot of great content coming your way. Make sure you guys hit the bell so you guys don't miss notifications. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great night, y'all.